Hello aspirants, we are having a banking awareness course which is a one-stop solution for the banking awareness as it covers both current and static banking. If you see under the current banking, there is weekly banking video which covers that week's banking and finance part, and the monthly banking PDF which consolidates the entire month banking and finance news in this particular PDF. Both can be accessed under this current banking part. And under the static banking part, if you see, this covers the static concepts which forms the base for the current banking news. So here in-depth explanation of the topics with examples will be provided, and also you can watch the videos for more understanding, and after reading the notes and watching the videos you can attend the quiz in the form of a revision. And also if you see, we regularly update the topics under the static banking. So the latest information will be available under the static banking. And also if you have any doubts, we also have a doubt solving section where you can post your doubts and our team will quickly resolve all your doubts. So before purchasing this course, you can avail this RS10 code for an extra 10% discount. Today we will be covering banking innovation part 4. This will be the final part. First one we're going to see is the e-lobby in India. So this is how the e-lobby in India it looks like. Okay. So this, if you see, it is a place where automated banking is done without any manual intercession. So there will be no people. Okay. That is, there will be no employees. You, the customer, he or she himself can go and place any withdrawal request, that is cash withdrawal or cash deposit request, maybe checkbook request. Even sometimes even it allows transfer request to the same SBI accounts, okay, to another account within SBI. So mini statements, so various requests can be made, and there was not just in case of ATM, if you see, there will be just 1 or 2 ATMs, right? But here in e-lobby, there will be n number of machines like this. Okay, so multiple people can come and access their machine. So when the branch is very crowded, they do not have enough time, the people can come and use the e-lobby. And also during the holidays, especially the Saturday, Sunday, when the bank is not functioning, that time if they have to utilize the bank services, this can be an alternate for that. So customers can do their banking transactions as per their convenience 24/7 without any timing restriction. So obviously we know that the branches, they have a certain timeline, that is they function only from 10 to 4. The customer timing only is from 10 to 4. After 4 you cannot go and withdraw or deposit cash. But here this e-lobby, it is available 24/7. So even at night 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock also you can go and deposit and withdraw money. So what are the various services available under this in this e-lobby? So ATM machine, that is you can deposit, you can withdraw money, okay, and cash recycler. So here you can also deposit and also withdraw money. Both are available under the cash recycler. Next, multifunction kiosk, like you can make the checkbook request, the transfer request, all this can be done under this multifunction kiosk. And next one is the self-service passbook printer. So I am sure that nowadays you might think that who is going to use the passbook printer? Everyone is in internet banking, right? But there are certain people still, especially the old age people, the retired people, they still heavily depend upon the passbook for recording their transaction. Know where the money has gone. If you see, just to print passbook, they have to wait in a queue for 1 or 2 hours in the bank. But in this e-lobby, the waiting time is very, very less. So this is very, very helpful even for the old age people who wants to print their passbook. They can go and do it themselves. This is what is an e-lobby. Next is cryptocurrency. So what is a cryptocurrency? So cryptocurrency is a digital or virtual form of money that uses cryptography for security and operates on a decentralized network, typically based on blockchain technology. This is a cryptocurrency. Okay, example, if you see Bitcoin, it is an example of a cryptocurrency. If you see India, we don't accept cryptocurrencies. Okay, so India is still not in, they haven't created a framework for the cryptocurrency to operate, and we still do not accept cryptocurrency as a mode of payment. But there are certain countries that accept cryptocurrency as a mode of payment. Now, what is this blockchain technology? So if you see this blockchain technology, it is a digital system for recording information in a way that makes it secure, transparent and hard to change. That is what is called blockchain technology. And I'm sure you will be aware of decentralized network. Decentralized network means that no single entity is responsible or is controlling this network. Okay, that is multiple people are involved. Okay, not it is decentralized means not a single entity controls the network. That is what is meant by decentralized network. So here if you see blockchain technology, first it is decentralized and distributed. As I said, decentralized, it means that not one single entity is controlling that network, and distributed, if you see, the data is not stored in one particular server or at one particular location. It is distributed all over the world. Okay, so when it is distributed all over the world, it will be difficult to track, it will be difficult to attack or ethically misuse it, right? That is the main purpose. So if you see in blockchain technology, all the data, they are decentralized, they are distributed. Next is immutable. Okay, that is, since they are stored in a very distributed manner and not at the same location, and they are also stored in a safe manner, it is very difficult to edit them or change or manipulate the data. Okay, that is not possible. That is what means is immutable. These are, the features of the blockchain technology and also the cryptocurrency also. Next, we are going to discuss about angel investors and venture capitals. So before going into these, why did even these angel investors and venture capitals exist? See, then if a company requires money, okay, to develop it or to establish, it can go to the bank, okay, to borrow the money, and bank in turn will ask for a collateral. If the company is already available in the stock exchange, okay, visible to the public, then it can raise the money from the stocks, through the stocks, or it is going to go public, then also it can raise. Okay, it does not require that only the company that is established, that is already available in the stock exchange, can raise money through stocks. Even for the first time, that is in the form of IPO, they can go in the stock exchange and raise money. Okay, and the third thing is debt, that is by issuing bonds. But what happens in the case of startups? Startups are the companies which is very difficult to fund, okay, because banks do not start the startups. Sometimes what happens is startups, they only have the idea, okay, they would not have actually implemented the product, because in creating the product you require money. The startup has a very strong idea, but they do not have any collateral, they do not have a prototype, they do not have the actual product. So against which the bank can provide loan, it is very difficult, right, to provide loan against just an idea. Right. So getting funding for a startup, it is very difficult. But angel investors, venture capitals, they take the risk. Okay, they give money against ideas also, against prototypes also, against those companies which do not even have started creating products. So here, if you see, especially in startups which are in the beginning stage and all, for them, the angel investors and the venture capitals, they play a very important role. But many people get confused between what is between the angel investors and venture capital. They think both are same. No, and a few differences between the angel investors and venture capitals. We will look into the differences. Angel investors, venture capitals. So angel investors, basically who they are? They are basically the wealthy individuals. The high net individuals are the angel investors here. Okay, but here in case of venture capitals, they are the funds or the firms. Okay, it is the firms or the companies in case of venture capitals. But here angel investors, they are mostly individual rich people. Next is source of fund. So in case of angel investors, they invest their own money. But here, if you see in venture capitals, they pool money from multiple investors, and that money is invested into the startups. Stage of investment. So angel investors, they invest money at the very early stage. Okay, that is, the company would not have yet been established also. So at that very early stage, they would take bet on the startups. But here venture capitals, they invest companies that are in the growth stage or the expansion. So it is little bit established. Okay, here in case of angel investors, it is at a very early stage, but in case of venture capitals, the startups are little bit established. In those startups only, the venture capitals put in their money. Next, investment. If you see, the angel investors, they make little bit of money, but venture capitals, they invest very huge amount of money. In case of angel investors, they invest maybe 4, 5, 6 crores, but here venture capital, they invest more than 10 crores into the startups. The next is decision making. Here angel investor, it is fast and flexible because it is the individual person's money, right? So he is the one who is going to take the decision. But here in case of venture capital, multiple people are the investors. So here the decision making process is little formal and also slow. So involvement, if you see, they provide mentorship and advice, that is angel investors. And here venture capital's active involvement is there and often seek board position. All this is observed under the venture capitals. Next is risk appetite. Okay, the risk taken by the angel investors and the risk taken by the venture capitalists. In case of risk taken by the angel investors, it is high compared to the risk taken by the venture capitalists. So this is comparatively lower, not high. Venture capital risk is also high, but compared to the angel investors risk, the risk is lower for the venture capital, because here if you see, angel investors, they invest at a very early stage, right? So that is why the angel investors investment risk appetite is very high compared to the venture capitalist. So these are the basic difference between angel investors and venture capitalists. So you should know, okay, you are an aspiring bank employee, so you should know the basic difference between the angel investors and venture capitalists. The last topic of this lesson is P2P lending, that is peer-to-peer lending. So what is this P2P lending? Say there is a borrower, okay, he wants money. Say suppose he wants money 30,000, okay, and that is a lender. He has money, he wants to give this money to someone so that he gets some good interest in return. So to connect these two people, there is a platform, and that platform is called as the P2P lending platform. Okay, the basic function of this P2P lending platform is just to connect people. I'm telling you once again, this P2P platform does not lend money. Okay, the money of this platform is not involved anywhere. The money here involved is only lenders and borrower. Okay, lender gives the money to the borrower, and the borrower in turn pays the principal and the interest to the lender. So this P2P lending platform, it only acts, as the name says, it is only a platform which transfers the money, does not give its own money. Okay, it does not give. One more thing is, it does not give its own money. Okay, no money involved from the platform, and it does not give any guarantee also. That is a very important point that you have to know. Okay, no guarantee is provided to the lender. If the borrower fails to repay, then it is the lender who has to face the loss. Okay, the platform will not give any guarantee that if the borrower fails, I will get the money from you. No. No such guarantee is provided by the P2P lending platform, and that is why this is quite riskier, and that is why also the interest rate is also a little bit attractive. That is the main reason. Obviously, when the risk is higher, the interest rate is also higher, right? So here if you see, the risk is higher, and so the interest rate is also attractive. So here if you see, who all can be the borrowers? Borrowers can be individual or small business. And here if you see, why do they actually come for the platform? There are so many banks, there are so many NBFC, financial institutions, then why will actually people come here? It is because here if you see, the loans are approved very quickly. So the time required to get a loan is very less compared to the traditional banking system. So when a person requires money immediately, he will come to this platform. Again, competitive interest rate. So competitive interest rate for both the borrower and the lender. And in case of borrower, if you see, so what kind of borrower will come to this platform? Limited credit history. So person who does not have any credit history, or who has also a bad credit history, they can come to this P2P lending platform. Next is facing stringent requirements. So the banks and all, they will have a set of requirements. Okay, you have to give this, you have to give that. That may not be able to be submitted by the borrower. Borrower may not be able to submit such requirements or fulfill such requirements given by the banking institutions. So those kind of borrowers can come to this platform. Next is lenders. So what kind of lenders will come? So this is like an investment opportunity, right? So here when they see this as an investment opportunity, those kind of lenders will come to this P2P platform. And also, since this is giving a very good interest rate, higher than the fixed deposits, so why not we try that? So attractive interest rate also pulls the lenders to these kind of platforms. So these are the various types of borrowers and lenders involved in this P2P platforms. So is P2P platform regulated? Yes, P2P platform is recognized as an NBFC by the Reserve Bank of India. So in 2017, if you see, the RBI recognized the P2P lending platforms as an NBFC, non-banking financial company. Okay, now we are going to see few more features. So say there is a lender. Okay, so how much money, maximum money he can lend across all P2P platforms? Okay, it is just not one P2P platform, it is across all. Say there is a P2P platform X, and there is another P2P platform Y. So across all these, he can lend only 50 lakhs. That is the maximum exposure. Beyond that, he cannot lend any money. Okay. So if the exposure is more than 10 lakhs, suppose he has given money of 12 lakhs across this P2P platform X, then he has to get a certificate from a practicing CA. Okay. from a practicing chartered account, he has to get a certificate in which it has to state that this lender has a minimum worth of 50 lakhs. Okay, only then he can have an exposure more than 10 lakhs. Remember, okay, this is mainly to ensure that the lender does not give entire money into the P2P. What if he loses the entire money? So that is why, to ensure that the lender is also protected, these norms were introduced. Okay, so if the lender has an exposure more than 10 lakhs, then he has to submit a network certificate stating that he has a minimum net worth of 50 lakhs. Remember this, at least 15 lakhs network should be there. That should be submitted to the P2P platform. Next, borrower. So how much money can the borrower borrow across all the P2P platform? It is maximum 10 lakhs. Maximum 10 lakhs only he can borrow, not more than that. Okay. Next is exposure of a single lender to the same borrower across all P2P platform is only 50,000. Okay. Say I told you, right? There is a P2P X. Okay. In this, there is a lender A and a borrower B. And again, here in P2P X also, the lender A and the borrower B are there. So here he has given already 40,000. In this platform, he has given to the borrower B 40,000. Then in this platform, he can give maximum only 10,000, because across all P2P platform, not just in one platform, across all P2P platform, the exposure of a single lender to the same borrower. Here, if you see, it is the same borrower, right? B is the borrower here in X platform, and B is the borrower here in the Y platform also. So same borrower to the same borrower, the maximum exposure a lender can have is only 50,000. So these are the various norms under the P2P lending platform, and these norms were introduced by the Reserve Bank of India. This is to ensure the safety, to protect the lender and the borrower. To protect both, these norms were introduced.